Hey traders, in this lesson I want to explore the Ichimoku Cloud a little bit with you guys. Now just like the stochastic in MACD, this is not an indicator I use in my own trading. To be perfectly honest, my own trading is extremely simple. I almost basically trade naked price action. I only really use three basic indicators in my trading strategies, and that is the ATR, the RSI indicator on some of my counter trend systems, and the exponential moving average in my trend continuation systems. But a couple of years ago, when I was doing contracting work for professional traders and writing scripts indicators for them as a side hustle, I had one client reach out to me, and he had a trading system that used the Ichimoku Cloud as a filter. Now, this was a couple of years ago, and at the time, TradingView didn't actually have an Ichimoku Cloud indicator built in, at least not one that you could see the source code to. And so I had to study the Ichimoku Cloud, work out how its formulas worked, and I had to code it myself through the help of quote-unquote borrowing other people's code from the TradingView script library, and I managed to create what he needed. And he used the Ichimoku Cloud like this. This script you see on your chart right now is a custom script I just wrote that mimics what this trader's system was kind of like. It was a lot more complicated than this, but basically this script is using the Ichimoku Cloud as a market condition filter. It's being treated a lot like a moving average filter. So when price action is below the cloud, it is detecting trading setups, short trading setups. And when price action is trading above the cloud, it is detecting long trading setups. Now, I've kept this extremely simple. All we are detecting is hammers and star candles. So bullish hammers, bearish shooting stars above and below the cloud. And in this lesson, I want to show you how I achieved this. So the very first thing I did was I popped up the indicators and strategies interface, and I looked up Ichimoku Cloud. I threw this on my chart. That's this script here. This is the inbuilt Ichimoku Cloud indicator that TradingView have created. I opened up the source code to the script, copied all of this, opened a new blank script, and I pasted this in. And then after a little bit of formatting, I ended up with this. Now this is the exact same source code. I've just tidied it up a little bit, made it a little bit more readable, and formatted everything to my preference in terms of style. And let me explain what's happening here. So the first thing we do is we create an indicator with overlay set to true. So we're drawing over price action. We get some user inputs. This script takes 4 user inputs. It's been a long time since I studied the Ichimoku, so I don't exactly understand everything that's happening here. Now, personally, I don't trade any indicators that I don't fully understand the inner workings of. I like to have a thorough understanding of how the indicator analyzes price action so that I can better understand its strengths and weaknesses. As I said at the start of this lesson, I'm not very familiar with the Ichimoku Cloud because it's not something I'm interested in using in my own trading. So I don't fully understand how it works, what the math is behind this. But what I can tell you is that we have a custom function here called Donchian, and it takes a length, a look back length. And then we get an average, a mathematical average of the lowest low over our look back period and the highest high over our look back period. And then we use this to calculate a conversion line, a baseline, a lead line 2, and our lead line 1 is an average between our conversion line and our baseline. And then all of this gets drawn onto the chart down here. And that's how we get our cloud data here. We have a lot of lines here. So we have our lead line 1 and our lead line 2. Our baseline, I believe, is the red line. Yes, the red line is our baseline, and the blue line is our conversion line. And then we have our green line here, which is called a lagging span. And this is just the current closing price offset to the left by our displacement, which is this setting in the settings menu. Displacement, so 26 bars to the left by default. So keeping in mind that I personally don't understand what this analysis of price action is for. Hopefully you do if you use the Ichimoku Cloud in your trading. But for today's lesson, I'm going to recreate this indicator I created for this trader, this client of mine who used the cloud as a market filter. And this is how I went about doing that. The first thing I did was I detected the candlestick patterns. Now for today's lesson, I'm going to use my custom library just to save time so that we don't need to write out the candle detection code. But as I keep saying in these lessons, if you want to write out your own code for candlestick detection, absolutely go for it. I encourage you to. Don't just follow me note for note. Feel free to riff on what I do and play around with new ideas and new code. That's the best way to learn. But I'm going to import my Zen library here by import control space Zen and the art of trading. There we go. And then I can just paste in my candlestick detection code here. So I'm just getting a hammer candle and a star candle. And if you want to know how this code works, make sure to check out my Zen library patterns in the candlestick pattern section of the course. But moving on, once we have our candlestick patterns, once we get them from my library or another library, or you've written out your own candle detection code, the next thing to do is work out which line is higher than the other. So you can see that these lines aren't always in order. Sometimes they cross. So here, the lead line 1 crossed below lead line 2, and now lead line 1 is lower than lead line 2. Here, lead line 1 was higher than lead line 2. We need to work out which line to pay attention to for detecting whether price action is below or above this cloud area. And so the way I do that is I get the upper and lower Ichimoku Cloud displacement lines. So we have lead line D1 and lead line D2. The D stands for displacement. So notice that when we're drawing this onto our chart using our plot functions, we're actually using the offset parameter to move this value 26 bars to the left using the default displacement setting. So if we try to check if price action is above the current lead line 1 on the current bar, that will actually give us a false reading. Because if I set my displacement to 0, so I can't set it to 0 because the minimum value is 1, so let me set it to 1 instead. You can see that our cloud just moved very far to the left. And so if we try to reference the 0 series, the current series of our lead line 1 and 2, we'll get the wrong value that we're referencing. So what we need to do here is reference our lead line 1 and lead line 2 using the historical operator and pasting in the same displacement that we use to draw our lead line 1 and lead line 2. So I can just copy this displacement code here into our historical operator or our series operator, and I can save my script. And now we are getting the lead line 1 and lead line 2 with the appropriate offset. Now there's an error down here because I forgot to import my Zen library with an alias. So if I change this to as Zen, this will now correctly detect what Zen is. So now if I save the script, we'll compile without any problems. And now we are getting our lead line 1 and 2 based on the current bar with the correct offset or displacement in this case. So now that we have that information, the next thing to do is to check which cloud line is the upper and which is the lower. So which lead line is lower than the other. The way I do that is I create two variables here, upper itchy and lower itchy, and I set upper itchy to a conditional or ternary operator, which says, is lead line D1 greater than lead line D2? If so, then the upper itchy should be set to lead line D1. Otherwise, if this is false, that means that lead line D2 is the upper itchy. I can copy this line of code here, paste it down here, flip our operator. So now we're saying set lower itchy to, and then we check, is lead line D1 less than lead line D2? If so, set D1 to the lower itchy, otherwise set D2 to the lower itchy. And that's it. We now have all of the information we need to correctly calculate or analyze our Ichimoku Cloud filter. So now I can paste in my get itchy filter code. This is very simple. All we're checking is the current closing price greater than the upper itchy? And below itchy will be, is the current closing price lower than the lower itchy? So we will check above itchy when looking for long trades, and we will check below itchy when looking for short trades. And that's what we do next. We check for trade setups. So we generate a long signal if price is above the upper itchy line, the upper lead line, and we get a hammer candle pattern. And we generate a short signal if price action is below the lower lead line, and we get a star candle. And that is our script complete. All that's left to do is draw this information onto the chart. So as always, I use the plot shape function for detecting trading setups, and I use triangle up and triangle down for long and short. I set the location to below bar and above bar for long and short, green and red for long and short, and then I set a title for our shapes so that the user can adjust this in the style menu if they want to. So now let me save the code, and we should be getting triangles below hammer candles that occur above our upper lead line and red triangles for shooting star candles below our lower lead line. And that's it for the Ichimoku Cloud script that I created for my client. He used a different candlestick pattern and he used a confirmation entry, and the script I wrote for him drew stops and targets and included automation functionality and stuff like that. But this is the basic skeleton of the script that I wrote for him using the Ichimoku Cloud as a filter. We'll cover automation and trade stops and targets in more detail when we get to the strategy section of the course. But for now, this is a simple way of using the Ichimoku Cloud as a filter, detecting trading setups. One last thing I did with the script to wrap it up is, well, two last things. One is generate alerts. Another is tidy up some of these lines. Because we are using the upper and lower lead line as our filter, we don't need these other three lines drawing onto the chart and cluttering up price action. So I created another user input here, a Boolean input called display full cloud. And this is a Boolean input with a title show full cloud. By default, it's set to true. And if I scroll down to the bottom here, well, let me copy this first. I achieved decluttering the chart by doing this. I just check, is display full cloud turned on for these first three plots? If so, then we draw the values, the relevant values. Otherwise, we draw NA onto our three plots here. So now if I save the script, I come up to the settings menu and I turn show full cloud off. We're only getting the Ichimoku Cloud and our setups drawing, and those other lines go away. Another way you could achieve this is by setting display to display.none. And then the user needs to come up to the settings menu and come to the style menu and turn that plot on if they want to see it on their chart. So that's another way of achieving the same thing, but I'll leave it as it is for now. And the final thing we'll do before we wrap up this lesson is generate our alerts. And I'm just going to use the alert condition function here. I'll use two of them. And one will be for long signals, one will be for short. So we'll set long signal as the first condition and short signal as the second. Then we need to give it a title. So we'll just say itchy long and itchy short. Whoops. And then we'll set the message to short setup below Ichimoku on, and then we'll throw in the ticker as well. I can copy that. Whoops, that should say long setup. Let me fix that. Long and short setup above and below Ichimoku on the current ticker that we've set our alert on. And that will do it for today's lesson and this script. We now have a working Ichimoku Cloud filter detecting candlestick patterns above and below the cloud. You could expand this if you want to. You could add a stop loss and target, different exit reasons, different entry reasons, extra filters. You could throw in another moving average or another indicator value to act as a filter, a second filter. Those are just some ideas to play around with if you're a fan of the Ichimoku Cloud and you want to experiment with some other filters along with this filter. Anyway, that will do it for this lesson. Thank you for watching. I'll speak with you in the next one.